Well, welcome to week 2 of a series we've been in called Sawat D. I want to welcome all of our campuses joining us via video, or if you're watching on TV or church online, or one of our West Texas network churches. We're especially glad you're joining us today as well. Sawat D, it's a Thai word, right? I told you about this last weekend. If you weren't here, this is the word right here. This is Sawat D. That's how you say it in Thai. It just means hello. If you're a girl, you say Sawat D ka. If you're a guy, you say Sawat D. Some of y'all weren't here, like you say, what? Yeah, not to be confused with the English word, okay? So, Sawat di krap, if you're a guy. That's how you say hello in Thai. And we said the reason we named the series Sawat Di is because I recently got back from a trip to Thailand that just was life-changing for me. And so I told some of our staff, I want to do a series about it, what God did in my life on this trip, and then kind of tell folks how we ended up in Thailand, like what were the events leading up to taking this trip. So last weekend and this weekend, telling you kind of about how we got to Thailand, and then next weekend, I'm going to tell you all about the trip. You're going to want to be back for sure. In fact, one of the things Thai people love to do is karaoke. And so some of our staff that were on the trip with me did some karaoke with some Thai people, and some of the people that sang on our staff shouldn't be allowed to sing. And so you're going to hear them though. We got it on video. And me too, so we'll not show that part. But we got some folks on video we're going to show you next week and tell you all about the trip. You're definitely going to be back. But let me, again, continue the story of how we got to Thailand. Now, if you weren't here last week, and this could be totally confusing, okay? Because this is like a long story. So let me try to tell you a few things we said last weekend. And if you're still totally confused, if you watch part 1 on our website, I think it'll clear things up for you. So the story of how we got to Thailand, I said, began about 12 years ago when my family and I took this class called Perspectives. Mom, Dad, my sister, and I took this class. It was about the nations, what God was doing in the nations of the world. It's called Perspectives on the World Christian Movement. And there were people, different speakers that came in, and missionaries, professors, different people talking about what God was doing like in the whole world and how we could be a part of it. That was kind of the point of the class, is God wants to bless the nations. He wants to use us to take the name of Jesus to nations who've never heard about him. We can all be a part of that. So what part does God call you to play? That's kind of the point of the whole class. So it was life-changing for us. Soon after taking the class, we had a Thai foreign exchange student come and live with our family. I was in college at the time. And her name was Kate. She lived with us for a year, became a Christian. It was a powerful story. You can check out last weekend's message. I told you the story. She went back to her country, and then Monsisha came and lived with our family for 6 years while she was getting her PhD at Texas Tech. And our family just developed a heart for Thai people. We got to know many of them that were attending Texas Tech, and just wonderful people, and a lot of them didn't know Jesus. And so it was a great opportunity to get to tell them about how great Jesus is. Well, one day I'm spending time with God, and I told you last week, and I went to a website, joshuaproject.net, and saw a map that just totally disturbed me. I gave you the map last weekend, but I'll show it to you again here. Here was the map that just threw me off. Basically, the map says that the green areas of the world are areas where greater than 2% of the population is Christian. That makes sense, like right over here, it's greater than 25% evangelical Christian, greater than 75% professing Christian. Red and yellow, less than 2% of the population is Christian. The difference between red and yellow is in yellow, there's just more access, more Bibles, more people that profess to be Christians. The red areas are the unreached or the least reached areas of the world. Less than 2% of the population is Christian, and in many countries, far less than that, many people who have never even heard the name of Jesus. And I look at this map and I'm like, that's a lot of red. Like I knew there were some people who didn't know Jesus, hadn't heard about him. I heard of unreached people groups. That's what the red areas are called, unreached people groups. I didn't realize there was that many. And then I found out that in this window here, the 1040 window, where a majority of the unreached people groups of the world live, majority of the red areas are, there's 5 billion people just right here, 5 billion, majority of the world's population. And 3 billion in this window live in a red area. 3 billion. And so I'm sitting there going, I didn't realize there's that many people. And then I just thought to myself, what about Thailand? Surely Thailand's not less than 2%. Surely, I know they don't have many, but it's got to be greater than 2%. And I told you last week, and I looked at Thailand, and it was red. I thought, no, seriously, it's not red, is it? And I found out it was not only less than 2% Christian, it was in the people groups we talked about last week. And how many Christians is a percentage of the population? Remember? 0.2%. The Central Thai and Northeastern Thai. I'm like, oh my goodness, is this true? So I read some books, some blogs, email some missionaries, find out it is totally true. And one of the missionaries I emailed said, That 0.2% number, it hadn't changed much in about 20 years. So I ended the talk last week and just by saying, I asked God, what's going on in Thailand? I don't get it. Why aren't there many Christians? I got family there. I got people I love there. Why aren't there many Christians? And even if there aren't many Christians, why isn't it growing, like 0.2% becoming 0.3 and 4? Why is it staying the same for like 20 years? What's going on? And I told you, I felt like God brought up a series of questions really for me. And I alluded to something last week that I want to show you in its broader context this week. And so if you got a Bible, go with me to Matthew chapter 9. I want to show you something. Matthew chapter 9. If you don't have one with you, you can grab one on your phone. There's a great Bible on your phone called YouVersion you can download if you'd like. If you got a smartphone, you got a dumb phone, you have to use a normal Bible, okay? Smartphones, though, you got it. But I'm going to show you, if you don't have one, up here on the screen, the verses. Check this out. Matthew 9, 35 or following. Jesus traveled through all the towns and villages of that area, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news about the kingdom. And he healed every kind of disease and illness. Can you imagine being there? I mean, all these sick people brought to Jesus. He just touches them, or he just says the word, and they're healed. Every kind of disease and illness. Jesus just speaks, just touches them, and they're well. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. This would be true of the red areas of the world too. These crowds that don't know him, he's going, hey, he's concerned about them. He's saying they're confused and they're helpless just like we were before we committed our lives to follow Jesus. He said it's kind of like red areas of the world or the crowds. It's kind of like they're sheep without a shepherd. What do sheep do when they don't have a shepherd around? They wander aimlessly. Sometimes they fall off cliffs and stuff because they don't know where they're going, all right? They don't have purpose or direction. They need a shepherd to lead them. And Jesus is saying he's concerned about the crowds. He's concerned about the red areas of the world because there's a lot of sheep. There's not really anybody to lead them. They're confused and helpless because they haven't found the great shepherd. Why? Why is it this way with the crowds? Why is it this way with the red areas? This is what I told you last weekend. He said to his disciples, the harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest and ask him to send more workers into his fields. Jesus is saying, hey, disciples, let me tell you one of the reasons. Here's one of the reasons they're confused and helpless. Here's one of the reasons they're like sheep without a shepherd. Here's one of the reasons. There's not many workers willing to go and tell them about me. The harvest is great. Like there's a lot of people, 3 billion people that live among an unreached people group. There's a lot of them. And the harvest is great, meaning like a lot of them are ready to trust in Jesus. A lot of them are ready to become followers of Jesus. The problem is there's not enough workers who will leave their nice, comfortable green area and go and tell somebody who's never heard about him so they can believe and become a follower of Jesus. The workers are few. That's one of the reasons, disciples. That's one of the reasons, Experience Life. You want to know, this is one of the reasons, Chris, as I'm thinking about this, why is so much red and why less than 2%? And what's one of the it's one of them is just that the workers are few. Not many people willing to live in green areas, to leave their nice, comfortable green area and go to a red area and tell people about Jesus. So I start wrestling with that, and over ensuing months, I'm like, God, so then why are the workers few? Okay, I get that the workers are few. That's part of the problem. Why are they few? I'm trying to figure this out because me and Experience Life, we want to be a part of the solution here. Why are the workers few? And I thought about it. I didn't like the response I felt like I was getting. But I thought about it and prayed about it. This is the conclusion I came to. It was a hard truth to swallow, but I just think it's true. The reason the workers are few is because me and almost all of my friends have neglected the red areas of the world. We've basically said to them, you know what, you guys, you can just go to hell. And then how I came to this realization is I started thinking about like my 100 closest Christian friends that I grew up with, that I went to church with, that went to college with, after college, just trying to think, okay, I got maybe a few hundred Christian friends that I know of. And what I realized is I couldn't think of one of them that was living in a red area. One of them that said, hey, the workers are few. I get that, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna live among them so they can know a Christian. I can give them a Bible. I'm gonna go. I couldn't think of one among all my friends. So I thought, well, maybe just me and all my friends are ungodly. Maybe that's the problem. So I'm gonna talk to the leadership team of our church. So I asked 4 other guys on staff at our church. I said, among your 100 closest Christian friends or 200 or whatever, how many can you think of that right now decided to move and live in a red area? Tell some people about Jesus, since we know Jesus cares so much about that. How many can you think of? Most of them said 0, maybe 1 or 2. So for years, me and my friends have known there are billions of people that don't know Jesus, many of whom have never heard, and we just decided to do very little about it. Maybe we give a little percentage of our income. Here you go, here's some money, here you go. But not much more than that. I've said that I cared, and my actions proved that I didn't. That's one of the reasons why I think the workers are few, because of me and my friends. And this is how you justify it, right? This is how I justified it growing up. If you grew up in church, this is how you justify it. I just always said, well, hey, God, I pray for those missionaries. God, thank you for those missionaries. I'm so glad I'm not one of those. I don't ever want to do that. But God, thank you for the ones that, God, it's just amazing. Thank you, God. But, and you justify it just by saying, hey, God called them to go, but God hadn't called me to go. You haven't, right? No, you haven't. I'm sure you haven't. God hadn't called me to go. He ain't going to do that to me. And usually, when you're thinking about this area, going to the nations or, any other area, usually what Christians mean, it's kind of sad, because I've been this way, maybe you have too. When we say God hadn't called us to do something, usually if we were being honest, what we mean is we don't want to. That's what we mean. But it's better to blame it on God than us. God hadn't called me. I hadn't even talked to him about it. But I don't think he called me. I don't think he did, because I would never want to do that. That's crazy, all right? And so that's what we do. We blame God because it makes us feel better about ourselves, but it's not like we've spent a season of time praying. It's not like in my life, I'd spent a season of time praying saying, God, I'm willing to go. Do you want me to? And then maybe I felt like him saying I was called to stay. I mean, that would be one thing. That'd be okay, right? Because it's been a season praying about it. But I started recognizing in my own life, maybe I should be looking for a calling to stay rather than a calling to go, because some of Jesus' final words to his disciples were, go and make disciples of all the nations. Like, it's not hard to get a call to go. It's just right there, Matthew 28. Maybe what I should be asking, I thought, is am I called to stay? Because I realized part of the problem is that Jesus had called many of my friends to go, and most of us just decided to stay. That's how I justify it. I told you about Kate last weekend, my Thai sister, I call her. And she got saved, became a Christian while she was living here. And before she left, she went to this conference. There's a band and speaker. The speaker was talking about some of this. And he said, sometimes when it comes to going to unreached people groups or to red areas of the world, he said we use this language of not being called. But he said, maybe sometimes we over-spiritualize it. Because sometimes when we say that, what we mean is God hadn't written it in the clouds or almost struck us dead and said it to us in the middle of the night or something. I mean, maybe we over-spiritualize it. He said, maybe, he's speaking to Kate and a lot of young people at this conference. The speaker said, maybe God's looking for some people to just say, I volunteer. I don't know about the calling thing. I hadn't seen anything in the clouds, God, but if you need somebody to go, I love you, God. You're my God. I want to be where you're at. I'll volunteer. I'll go, God, if you want me to. So at the end of this little lesson, to all these young people, he said, I think God's calling some of you to go to the 3 billion that live in an unreached people group. And if you feel like God's calling you, and by that you just mean you're willing to volunteer because you hadn't seen anything written in the clouds, he said, I just want you to stand up. So all these young people stood up around the room, and guess who stood up with them? Kate did. She's a brand new Christian. She didn't know anything. She just knew, hey, I'm 17 years old. I love Jesus. There's people in my country that don't know him. I don't know if I'm called or not, but God, I'll volunteer. If it's easier than this super spiritual writing in the clouds thing, I'll volunteer and go. God, I'll tell him if you want me to, because I'm just on fire for you, God. So she volunteers, and soon after she goes back to her country. Guess who the first person she talks to is? Her sister, Fawn. Little backstory. A couple of years before Kate had come to America, her sister Fawn was staying in a Thai hotel. For some reason, in this Thai hotel, in the nightstand, Fawn was getting ready to go to bed. She pulls out a drawer, and guess what book she finds in a nightstand at a Thai hotel? Kate's sister, Fawn. A Gideon Bible. She pulls it out, turns to the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000. She's like, what? With a few loaves of bread, few fish, Jesus feeds all these thousands of people? This guy's amazing. She tells her parents about it. Fawn does. They're all Buddhist. She tells her parents. Her parents are like, Fawn, that's foolish talk. I don't want you learning any more about him. So she decides to go to her sister, Kate. Before Kate had ever come to America, had ever become a Christian, Kate was a Buddhist. Fawn goes to her sister, Kate, says, Kate, there's this guy, Jesus, and I found this book. It says he fed 5,000 people. And Kate told Fawn, that's stupid. There is no God. So Kate gets back to Thailand. She pulls Fawn aside. She's like, Fawn, I was totally wrong, okay? I met him in America. His name is Jesus, okay? I know who this guy is now. He is my God. He should be yours too. Guess what Fawn does? She commits her life to follow Jesus. We get to Thailand just in July when we were there, and we got to meet and talk to Fawn, and we had learned that she had just gotten back from a mission trip to South Thailand to tell Muslims about Jesus. How did all this happen? Because a 17-year-old girl said, God, I'll volunteer. I don't know if I'm called or not. I don't know all that. I don't know. But if it's about just saying, I'm here, if you want to use me, send me. I'm here, God. And I'll volunteer. You see, Kate's response was a lot like Isaiah's in the Bible in the Old Testament. Remember this text from last weekend? Isaiah 6:8. Then I heard the Lord, Isaiah heard the Lord asking, whom should I send as a messenger to this people? Who will go for us? Remember? Isaiah heard God asking this, or God wanted to send a messenger, and he's saying to Isaiah, who am I supposed to send? And I sense God was kind of saying this to me about Thailand. And I'm asking him, God, why aren't there more people there that are Christians? Why is it 0.2%? Hey, Chris, who am I supposed to send? Who's going to be a messenger for us? What I left off, though, last weekend was Isaiah's response. Here's Isaiah's response. Who's going to go for us? Isaiah said, here I am. God, why don't you send me? God, if you need a messenger, you're my God. Isaiah is saying this. You're my God. I love you. If you want somebody to go, hey, don't look past me, God. I am your servant. I'll go. Here I am, God. You want a messenger? Here I am. Send me. And I told you last weekend after I read these questions that I responded for myself to God, asking who should I send to Thailand? Who should go for us? And then I responded for you, that I responded for our church. You know what I said? I told you you'd have to come back this weekend to find out. You know what I said? I said, God, here we are. Why don't you send us? God, here I am as the pastor. I care about the fact that this country, Thailand's 0.2% Christian. Why don't you send me? God, we got this great church, a lot of people on fire for you, God. I bet they say the same thing. God, here we are. Send us. Whatever that means, whatever that looks like, God, we volunteer. We don't know if we're called. We don't know about all that and haven't seen anything in the clouds, God. But if you're looking for somebody to send, if you're looking for a messenger, it's like Isaiah saying that, hey, I volunteer. Yeah, hey, we're right here, God. E-Life is right here. We don't want to be a workers are few church. We want to be a workers are many. And so I went to our staff. After saying this, I sat the staff down. I said, see, staff, here's the thing. I don't want to just give my life for a West Texas vision. And I'm excited about what's happening here. We're going to keep going for it. I don't want to give my life just for a West Texas vision. I also want to give my life for an unreached people group vision. I want to give my life for a Thai vision. I told him that I hoped one day people on our staff would say, hey, Chris, here I am. Send me. I want to go be on staff at E-Life, Thailand. I told the staff, I hope people in our church, accountants in our church say, hey, here I am, send me. I'm going to go be an accountant in Thailand. I don't know about being a missionary, but I can be an accountant in Thailand. Doctors say, hey, here I am, send me. I'm going to be a doctor in Thailand. So that people like Kate, who never even knew a Christian growing up, could get to know one because you're there. A construction worker saying, I want to be a construction worker in Thailand. A teacher saying, I want to be a teacher in Thailand, and so on and so forth. I said, staff, I'm going to be praying that God raises up people from our church to say, we care. We're going to go. Don't know about the whole calling thing, hadn't seen it in the clouds, but God, if you're looking for some people, here we are. Send us. I just figured you guys would be with me. And so I told the staff, I thought the next step was to take a vision trip to Thailand, and that's how we ended up there. And so next weekend, I'm going to tell you all about it. But you probably have this question. You're hearing me talk. You're like, so Chris, are you saying all of us need to go home today and pack our bags? Okay, and we're all going to get on an airplane, the whole church, all of us. No, it's not what I'm saying, okay? I'm not saying everybody's called to actually go there. I'm saying everybody's called to say, here I am, send me. Everybody's called to be willing to do whatever it takes to be used of God to reach the nations of the world, to bless the nations. You've said you want this before. You want to change the world. That's what it looks like to change the world. Not all supposed to actually go, all supposed to be willing and say, God, here I am, send me. If you want me to go, I'll move and go. If you want me to stay and send and support and help, whatever, God, whatever you want me to do. I'm just saying, I want to bless the nations. I want to change the world. I volunteer. Here I am, send me. You say, well, Chris, I got another question. How many of those should actually go? Like I'm just curious, how many you think should go? Now, if you want me to just guess, okay, or give you a good place to start, think about this. On many of our rows of chairs at Experience Life, there's about 10 chairs, okay? If there's 2 on your row, then just work with me, okay? But there's about 10 chairs, all right? So let's say there's 10 people sitting in 10 chairs on a row at Experience Life. How many being sent to Thailand would be a good place for our church to start out of the 10? How many would be a good place to start? Maybe 1? You're like, are you serious? So like 10% of us, that'd be maybe about 500 people. Would that be a good place to start? I mean, again, America greater than 25% Christian, evangelical Christian, greater than 75% professing. I mean, we could stand to lose a few to countries that don't have basically any, right? And so here's your assignment, all right? If 1 out of 10 of us should go, I just want you to look up and down your row right now at all of our camps. I want you to point to the person that you think should go first. Go ahead. Don't point at me. Staying. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Here's all I'm saying. Is I think all of us need to get to the same place Isaiah was, and Kate was, Fawn was, where we just say, God, for the sake of the nations of the world, for the sake of the red areas of the world, hearing about Jesus, here I am. Send me. I'll go, I'll stay. Majority of us are going to stay. That's great. But we're not just going to stay and do nothing. We're going to help. Here I am. Send me. So here's what I want to do. I want to ask you to do something crazy, because we do crazy here at Eli. If you're a first-time guest, you're going to like this, and you're going to think we're all crazy. Okay, but here, let's do something crazy. In just a second, if you're in with me, you're like, hey, Chris, I'm in. Thai Vision. I'm here. I am. Send me. I'll stay. I'll go. I'll do whatever. But I'm going to help. I want to bless the nations. I want to change the world. What I'm going to have you do in just a second is just stand up and say out loud, here I am. Send me. That's it. And just so you know, a couple weeks ago, I got to speak at a youth camp here at this church. It's awesome. And one night, I talked about some of this. And I told the youth, I said, hey, you want God to use you to change the world? You want to do whatever He wants you to do with your life? You want to be a part of something huge? Then you stand up as a teenager and you say, here I am, send me. Guess how many of the youth stood up and said it? Basically, all of them. So don't let them show you up, okay? It's just teenagers, all right, okay? So I'm going to give you that opportunity. And this is not you saying, hey, I'm going to go long term. I'm going to live over. It's just us saying as a church, God, we care. We want to do something. We want to bless the nations. Here we are. Send us. If you're not a Christian, if you're not into this, I totally get it. Stay seated. We don't put any pressure on you. But if this is you and you're in for the Thai Vision, for blessing the nations, for changing the world, then just in a second, get up and say, here I am. Send me. You ready? Set, go. All of our campuses. It's awesome. Can we thank God for all these people saying they want to be a part? Remain standing, please. Remain standing. Remain standing, please. To those of you standing, to those of you sitting, challenge you with a couple of things. Number one, this Tuesday night, 7 p.m. right here in this room at our Southwest campus, you need to be here. Andy Campman, one of the favorite perspective speakers from that class that I said changed my life, is going to be here. He's going to talk to us. He's going to tell us about what God's doing all around the world. You need to come and you need to hear about it. Please be here, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Second, in our lobbies at all of our campuses, we've got people out there, part of our goers, the ones living in the international apartment complexes I was telling you about that are preparing to go to the nations. They'd love to visit with you and sign you up to take this perspectives class this fall, if that's something you want to do. So I want you to know that they're available as well. After I pray, I want to pray for you. After I pray, I want to show you a video. Somebody in our church that took the perspectives class, Grayson, and made a big impact on his life. I want you to see what happened in his life so that you can consider taking it as well. Let me pray for you. God, thank you so much for all those standing at all of our campuses. And God, we're saying we don't know what we're supposed to do, whether we go and just do our occupation in Thailand or be a missionary or we stay. We want to do something, God. See a church in Lubbock, Texas saying, here we are, send us. We volunteer, God, to go and bless the nations. God, honor the commitment that these people are making. God, help us all to remember this day that we stood and said, I'm not going to live this way anymore. I want part of my life to count for the nations of the world. So God, use us, send us. And I pray, God, how cool would this be? I pray that eLife could be a part of seeing a country like Thailand that's so red right now, one day turn green. It'd be amazing. We want to be a part. In Jesus' name, amen.
Before I took Perspectives, I knew nothing about the nations. It wasn't something I'd ever thought about. It wasn't anything I'd ever considered. It just wasn't something that revolved around the world that I'd built. The first class I went to in Perspectives just blew my mind. There's just such an incredible way that they taught the Bible And it was stories that I'd read before, it's stories that I'd heard before, but I'd never even come close to understanding them. And they just laid it out right in front of you. And it was just incredible just watching. I was just flying through the Bible, just taking notes as fast as I could, and it was something I'd never experienced before, and it was something I wanted to experience every week afterward. Perspectives wrecked the way I thought about God. It just gives you such an incredible look at God's heart, what He cares about and what's important to Him. And so much of that stuff I'd never thought about. It wasn't stuff that I'd understood when I'd read the Bible before. But the way they just take you through the Bible and walk through it, you can just really get such a glimpse of His heart that I've never seen before, and it was just absolutely amazing. God's heart is to be worshiped among every people from every tribe, tongue, nation, and language all around the world, and to have an intimate relationship with every single person on this earth. And it's just an absolute beautiful thought when you think about it, that the creator of the universe wants to have a relationship with every single person on this planet. The biggest thing this class taught me about God's heart for the nations is that this was a command He wanted us to do. This is something He cared deeply for. This is something that was crazy important to Him, and it should be just as important to us. And so once I kind of wrapped my head around how much God cares about this, that's when I was able to start understanding that this is something I need to care about. This is something I need to be involved with and do something for. Perspectives really taught me that it's not just the pastor's job to tell people about Jesus. You don't have to go to seminary and get a first-class education to share the love of Jesus in every day. There's people around you that haven't had a shot to hear the gospel, who've never heard about Jesus, who don't know what that love is. And there's steps you can take right here and now. And for all we know, that they're just the first steps of many to sharing your faith all around the world. Take the class. It's amazing. It wasn't something I was interested in. It wasn't something I wanted to do. I was in school. My very last semester, I was taking hard classes. I had a job. It wasn't something that I cared about, was interested in. I had a million excuses about why I shouldn't take it. I'm so grateful I did. I'm so happy that I had that one person there that encouraged me to take it. And take it with your friends, take it with your family. This is just such an incredible opportunity. I don't want anyone to miss out.
Thanks for checking out one of our messages today. For more information about our church or to watch other messages, you can go to our website at experiencelifenow.com. Let us know if we can serve you in any way, and we hope to see you real soon.